She disappeared from the stage and the noise didn't know what to do with itself. 9 months of treatment, no podium speeches, no balcony theatre, just a woman walking the long road back through fresh air and long grass. When she finally re-emerged, the plan wasn't announced, it was already there, hiding in plain sight, the same way it always has been with Catherine, in the trees she chooses, the children she champions, and the quiet she refuses to surrender. Give me 1 minute and I'll show you the small, almost invisible detail from her wedding that reads now like a mission statement, and why palace watchers think it's the spine of her future as queen. Windsor is running hot right now. A king in treatment. An heir being drilled for impact, told off the record that readiness is not theoretical anymore. Schedules tighten, voices drop, calendars shift by the hour. In the middle of all that, Catherine doesn't chase headlines, she strips everything back to what works. Not the optics. The core. Nature, children, and time, 3 words so simple they sound like PR until you remember who's been living them since Buckleberry. Start there. Berkshire hedgerows, greenhouse hands, craft tables, the sort of English countryside childhood that teaches you patience because plants don't care about your deadlines. People forget that long before the tiaras, that was her rhythm. And when the worst news arrived, she didn't reinvent herself, she went back to source. She said it herself in the gentlest way possible. The outdoors brings her peace, it reconnects her when the rest of life is all sirens. That's not a caption, it's a coping system. The forest doesn't care what the tabloids say, it reminds you your breath still works. Now circle back to the promise I made. Westminster Abbey, April 2011. Everyone remembers the dress, the balcony kiss, the roar. Fewer remember the trees, towering, living green brought inside a medieval stone lung. Aisles flanked with English woodland, thousands of seasonal blooms sourced close to home, the altar framed like a garden gate. Wedding experts applauded the romance, the florist spoke about resilience, rootedness, love that lasts seasons. Look again with 2025 eyes and you can see what she was telling us. This would never be a reign about spectacle first. It would be about growth, about bringing the outside in, about choosing the real thing over the plastic version every time. She built a forest in a church and called it a wedding. Tell me that isn't a manifesto. And then there's the work that never leaves her hands no matter how rough the storm gets. Tiny humans, big futures. Early childhood isn't a hobby for her, it's the engine she keeps tuning. When the world thought she was on break, her team dropped new animations and training tools to change the way adults speak to small children, how to slow our pace to theirs, how to see the feeling before we see the behavior. You can call that soft power if you want. Anyone who's ever met a 5-year-old having a hard day will tell you it's the hardest power there is. What does that add up to? A blueprint that looks almost too quiet to be a plan until you realize how ruthlessly it fits the moment the monarchy is in. Pillar 1 is nature as medicine, not metaphor. She refuses the frantic. Trees at the Abbey become woodland in hospital gardens, become school trips that measure success in muddy knees, not photo ops. Pillar 2 is children first, not as a slogan but as a national strategy. If you start early, the downstream costs, financial, emotional, societal, fall. Pillar 3 is quiet power. She doesn't leak, grandstand, or perform anxiety. That calm is not detachment, it's how she holds the line. Pillar 4 is visible sincerity. Fewer engagements, maybe, but the ones she does land like they mean it. Pillar 5 is sustainability in the human sense as much as the environmental one. Don't burn bright, endure. And yes, there's tension in there. The slimmed-down dream of this reign was supposed to look efficient, modern, clean. Then life intervened. Illness shrank the front bench. Public appetite for pageantry dipped, appetite for proof rose. Catherine's model fits that flip perfectly. Spend less on velvet, more on outcomes. Fewer balcony moments, more measurable wins for families, schools, and local services that carry the load when headlines move on. You can see why civil servants like it. You can also see why old guard courtiers raised on a diet of ceremony shift in their shoes. Less theatre means less cover. When you say you're building foundations, people ask for the receipts. Here's the part the tabloids miss while they're busy packaging comeback like a summer red. This approach is painful to fake. You can't outsource genuine presence with children, they smell insincerity like smoke. You can't bluff the stillness of someone who went through real fear and found her way out by walking through wind and rain. That's why the public reaction to her updates feels different. Admiration is one thing, recognition is another. People recognize what chemotherapy takes. They recognize the way sunlight lands on your face for the first time after a long winter and you realize you're still here. When she talks about peace in the outdoors, millions of us know exactly what that feels like. Does this make her invulnerable? No. It makes her subject to a harsher test, deliver or don't. The plan's beauty is its danger, you can measure it. Fewer slogans, more outcomes. Are nurseries reporting better staff training? Are parents getting tools they actually use at 3 a.m.? Are school gardens and hospital courtyards more than ribbon-cutting backdrops? Are children's mental health referrals handled faster because adults caught the signs earlier? These are boring questions for headlines, and precisely the questions she seems to want. Watch the choreography. William shoulders the constitutional weight, Catherine builds the social license that lets the weight stay where it is. He shakes ministers awake, she sits on the carpet with a child who won't make eye contact and waits until they do. He can announce a stadium, she can make sure the kid who lives 2 streets away feels like they belong there. This isn't a throwback to Victoria and Albert or a copy-paste of Charles and Diana. It's its own pattern, steel wrapped in green leaves. There will be cheap shots. There always are. They're on holiday again. Animated films aren't policy. Where's the sparkle? The answer is that sparkle is easy. Staying power is the work. She's betting the public would rather see the scaffolding than the fireworks this time. If she's wrong, the ratings will tell her. If she's right, the crown will have something rarer than applause, permission. One last loop to close. That wedding forest. It wasn't just pretty. It was proof. She will keep bringing the outside into palaces, into policy, into a role that can crush the air out of you if you let it. The same instinct that steadied her through treatment steadies the plan now: simplify, ground, grow. Take the noise outside and let the wind handle it. Keep the children at the center of the room. Refuse the frantic. Breathe. If you've watched this far, you already know why this matters. A monarchy survives on consent, not volume. Consent comes when people feel seen, heard, helped. That's the work she's quietly framed as her job description for the next 40 years, written not in press releases, but in tree shade and tiny hands. If you think that won't move a country, ask any parent what a single steady adult can do for a child at the right moment. If this approach makes sense to you, tap the like so this reaches the people who roll their eyes at royal coverage and say show me something real. Then tell me below, which part of Catherine's blueprint do you want to see most? More early years training that actually changes classrooms, more green in hospitals and schools, or more honest talk about mental health that doesn't sound like a seminar? I'm reading every answer, and yes, we'll follow the results.